I visited the location of one of my favorite 100 famous views of Edo painted by Hiroshige Ando to see what the scene looks like today. Atagoshita and Yabukoji Lane in number 112 is a view looking towards Zojoji Temple from the front of Osakaya Sunaba, a soba noodle shop located at the intersection of Atago Shita-dori and Karasumori-dori. Please see from the wide area map which area it is. It is located in the Toranomon Business District, south of the Imperial Palace. The red dashed line is the area. Please see the enlarged map. I added Hiroshige's viewpoint in red gradient. The blue street running vertically is Atago Shita-dori, and the green streets running left and right are Karasumori-dori. Hiroshige painted from this intersection, looking in the direction of Zojoji Temple. I covered this with a map of the time. You can see that the streets of the Edo period still remain to some extent today, although they are somewhat out of alignment. On this map, samurai residences are drawn in white, shrines and temples in red, and the areas where townspeople lived in gray. You can also see that this area was all samurai residences. Immediately to the right of the viewpoint was the residence of the Kato family of the Omi Minagachi clan, and beyond that were about 13 samurai residences. To the left of the viewpoint were the residences of the Hijikata family of the Ise Kimono clan and the Tamura family of the Mutsuichi Inoseki clan, and beyond them were several more samurai residences. The paths on either side of the street were called Yabukoji on the Kato family side and Sakumakoji on the Hijikata family side. On the west side of the path running vertically is a thin, light blue river, which was drawn from the outer moat, called Sakuragawa at the time, and used as a moat divider. From the viewpoint, beyond the Tamura family's mansion on the left, there is a small alley to the left. This light blue alley is called Tamura-kaji, and the Tamura family's main residence was also located on the right side of the exit from Shinbushi Station. Asano Takumi no Kemi, famous for the Chishingira story, was forced to commit seppuku, ritual suicide, in the garden of the Tamura family's main residence at around 7 p.m. on the day of the riot. It is said that he failed to intervene and cut off his head twice, causing blood to splash all over the garden. As can be seen by returning to the modern map, the Kato family mansion became Toranomon Hills Business Tower, and the 13 samurai residences beyond it became Toranomon Hills. This mass of samurai residences on either side became Loop Road 2, also known as Shintora-dori or MacArthur-dori. The Loop Road 2, represented by the blue dotted line, was originally called MacArthur Street, as it was requested by the U.S. occupation forces after the war to build a road from the U.S. Embassy to Takeshiba Pier. In reality, however, this urban planning road had already been planned by Tokyo Mayor Shinpei Goto and others after the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923. Subsequently, the project was put on hold due to difficulties in acquiring land for the project. The redevelopment project was finally resumed when a 1989 amendment to the law made it possible to build on the road, and the above-ground and below-ground portions of the project opened simultaneously in March 2014. Toranomon Hills was opened by Mori Building in June 2014, covering the entrance to the Loop Road 2 tunnel. Let us return the map to Edo. The location of the Hijikata family on the left side of the viewpoint is now occupied by Kawasnishi Shinbushi Building. The Shinpyokuji Temple at the end of the viewpoint is housed in a magnificent building. The Enpyokuji Temple beyond the viewpoint was the administrative temple for Atago Shrine, but now only the shrine remains and Enpyokuji itself has disappeared. Please see another pictorial map with Hiroshige's point of view for an interesting comparison with the present. Zojoji Temple at the end of Mount Atago was partially turned into the two-building Atago Green Hills, but the temple still exists today. The path leads to the Hojo, or monk's residence, of Zojoji Temple. A little further on was the Inariman Gate, through which the shogun's family passed when they visited Zojoji Temple. The Inariman Gate has been moved a little, but it still remains today. At the end of the street, The Hojo of Zojoji Temple has been transformed into the Tokyo Prince Hotel. Now we will actually take a closer look at Hiroshige's painting. The heavy-looking bamboo thicket with snow on it is coming from the right side of the winter sky. It was called Yabukoji because the bamboo thicket was located at the northeast corner of the mansion. The small mountain at the far end is Mount Atago, where NHK's transmitting station was located when the station began operations. Just below it, you can see the red gate of Zojoji Temple. 3 sparrows are flying in the sky. The large building on the left with snow on its roof is the residence of Hijikata no Kemi, whose entrance, which is said to have been at the front left, is obscured. In front of it is a group of passers-by with snow on their green coat. Beyond this, even a small white dog is depicted, which is typical of Hiroshige. To the right is the Sakuragawa moat, which curves to the left, but not as far as it actually goes. The building that covers the Sakuragawa moat is the guard station, which was located on the southeast corner of the Kato house. The entrance to the Kato family was located to the right of this guard station. The Yabukoji itself is not depicted in this painting, as Hiroshige's perspective is from the bridge over the Yabukoji in the foreground. I have actually seen with my own eyes what this place looks like now. This is the current photo taken from a slightly lower position than Hiroshige's viewpoint. The Sakuragawa moat has disappeared and the width of the street has become much wider. In the lower right is the pedestrian crossing over Karasumori-dori, or the entrance to Yabukoji at that time. The building with several canopies on the right is Toranomon Hills Business Tower, which stands at the location of the former Kato family. Toranomon Hills is beyond it, and the 2 buildings on the other side in the middle are Atago Green Hills on either side of Zojoji Temple. This photo is a view of Yabukoji. The left side is Toranomon Hills Business Tower, the former residence of the Kato family, and the wooden house on the right side is Osakaya Sunaba, which was still under construction for house relocation at that time. I tried to fit the current view into Hiroshige's painting. Well, it is indescribable, the tremendous change. Where have all the samurai residences gone? Please also see the aerial view of this area. The blue line is Atago Shita-dori, and the green line is Yabukoji, now Karasumori-dori. I also included the red gradient, Hiroshige's point of view. You can see what kind of buildings Toranomon Hills and Toranomon Hills Business Tower are too. In particular, this Toranomon and Kamiyacho neighborhood is home not only to Toranomon Hills, but also to a forest of mori buildings, both small and large. Originally, the city planning law and the building standards law were supposed to provide for good urban development, but these laws have been amended after amendment to reach the current state. In particular, the shading regulations enacted in 1977 restrained the construction of tall buildings to some extent. Later, however, the Building Council of the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism began to revise and abolish these restrictions, and zoning was also revised. Eventually, the legal system was such that high-rise buildings could be constructed everywhere, as is the case today. It was a laughable fact that Recruit Company, Limited and Mori Building Company, Limited, which were then involved in high-rise buildings and condominiums, were members of the MLIT Building Council. This is Osakaya Sunaba, a buckwheat noodle shop that was house relocation at the time of this visit. This iconic building, which stands quietly in the shadow of the building, was built in 1923 and is now designated as a registered tangible cultural property, having survived the war and earthquake. Tall buildings are fine, but couldn't the city have been built with a little more sunlight and a little more space for human life? Looking at Hiroshige's paintings, I wonder about such things.